Breaking news for you.
Gabriel Martinelli's Arsenal future has become one of the biggest talking points of the final days of the transfer window, and the latest developments suggest that this may be much more than a simple case of a player being rotated. The Brazilian winger has now been left out of Arsenal's matchday squad for the Community Shield against Manchester City and the Premier League opener against Coventry City, while Al Hilal have opened discussions over a possible transfer. Arsenal are understood to value Martinelli at around £60 million, although reports indicate that negotiations are still ongoing and no final agreement has been reached. For Arsenal supporters, the situation is particularly difficult to understand because Martinelli has been an important part of the club's transformation under Mikel Arteta. He arrived from Ituano in 2019 for a relatively small fee and developed from an exciting Brazilian teenager into an established Premier League attacker. Across his Arsenal career, he has made 278 appearances, scoring 62 goals and providing 36 assists. Yet football can change extremely quickly. A player who once looked almost untouchable can suddenly become expendable when the manager changes his priorities and the club reshapes its attack. That appears to be what is happening with Martinelli. There is an important distinction, however, between being left out because of tactical selection and being left out because the club is preparing for a transfer. Arsenal have insisted that squad selection is complicated by the number of players available. Arteta has previously criticised the limits on matchday squads, arguing that modern football gives managers too many players and too many matches to manage while still restricting the number of substitutes and squad places available. That explanation has some validity. But when Martinelli is absent from consecutive matchday squads while Arsenal are simultaneously discussing his sale, the transfer angle becomes impossible to ignore. The arrival of Christos Tzolis has also changed the equation. Arsenal brought in the Greek winger from Club Brugge, and his immediate performances have been extremely encouraging. Tzolis impressed during pre-season, produced 2 assists in the Community Shield victory over Manchester City, and then contributed again during the 3-0 Premier League win over Coventry. That means Arteta now has a new left-sided option who appears to fit exactly what he wants from that position. The situation is therefore not simply about Martinelli becoming a worse footballer. It is about Arsenal deciding what type of attack they want. Martinelli's greatest strengths have always included explosive acceleration, direct running, and the ability to attack space behind defensive lines. But Arteta increasingly wants his wide players to contribute through combinations, positional intelligence, and final third decision-making. Tzolis has immediately demonstrated those qualities, and if Arsenal believe the Greek international can become their long-term solution on the left, keeping Martinelli as an expensive second-choice player becomes more difficult to justify, especially when the Brazilian has entered the final year of his contract, with Arsenal holding an option to extend it for another season. This is where Al Hilal's interest becomes extremely important. According to reports, the Saudi Arabian club are negotiating with both Arsenal and Martinelli's representatives. The player is understood to be open to the possibility of moving to Saudi Arabia, although earlier reports indicated that his preference had been to remain in Europe. That represents a significant change from earlier in the window. Galatasaray previously submitted an offer worth approximately £38.4 million. But Martinelli's camp made it clear that the Brazilian was not interested in moving to Turkey. Arsenal therefore faced a difficult situation. They were willing to sell, but the player had no desire to accept the available destination. Al Hilal could change that. The Saudi club have the financial power to offer Martinelli a much more attractive package, while Arsenal could receive a fee significantly higher than Galatasaray's proposal. Reports currently put Arsenal's desired valuation at approximately £60 million, although other reports have suggested that Al Hilal have already considered figures below that level. For Arsenal, the difference is enormous. A £60 million sale would give the club substantial funds to reinvest before the transfer window closes. And considering Arsenal's continued pursuit of another major attacking signing, that money could become part of a larger transfer strategy. This is why Martinelli's situation should not be viewed in isolation. It could be connected to the next player arriving at Arsenal. The most controversial aspect of this situation is not necessarily Arsenal's willingness to sell Martinelli. It is the manner in which the decision appears to have developed. Ian Wright has been particularly critical. The Arsenal legend said Martinelli deserves greater respect because of what he has contributed to the club, expressing discomfort with the way the winger's situation has been handled. Wright's criticism is significant because he understands the emotional side of being an Arsenal player and believes the club should make sure Martinelli understands exactly where he stands. Reports have also indicated that Arteta has spoken directly with the player about his situation. From a football perspective, however, Arteta's decision can be understood. Last season, Martinelli remained an important squad player, making 53 appearances and scoring 11 goals in all competitions. But his role had already diminished compared with previous seasons. His numbers were useful, but Arsenal wanted greater consistency from the left side. Then came Zolis. The Greek winger has immediately given Arsenal something different. Creative passing, intelligent movement, quality set pieces, and the ability to combine in the final third. That matters because Arsenal cannot afford to have expensive players blocking the development of others. If Zolis becomes Arteta's preferred left winger, Martinelli could find himself competing for minutes with a player who has just joined the club and is already producing. There is also another factor. Arsenal want to continue strengthening their attack. The club have been linked with elite forwards throughout the summer, including Julian Alvarez, while other attacking targets have also been discussed. If Arsenal bring in another marquee attacker, Martinelli's position in the hierarchy could become even more difficult. This is where the £60 million valuation makes sense from Arsenal's perspective. Martinelli is 25, has Premier League experience, has played for Brazil and has accumulated significant European experience. But he also has a relatively short contractual situation. Arsenal therefore have to consider whether his value is likely to increase significantly if he stays for another season without becoming a regular starter. If the answer is no, selling now may be the financially responsible decision. There is another possibility though. Arsenal could keep him. That should not be dismissed. If Hilal fail to meet Arsenal's valuation and Martinelli does not want the move strongly enough, the Brazilian could remain in North London. Arsenal would then have another high-level attacking option for a season in which they are expected to compete across the Premier League, Champions League and domestic competitions, and that could actually benefit Arteta. Imagine having Zolis as the starting left winger, but being able to introduce Martinelli against a tiring defence after 60 minutes. His pace could become devastating. He could also be useful in matches where Arsenal need to attack space rather than dominate possession. The problem is financial. Arsenal cannot keep every player indefinitely, especially when squad space is limited and other players are also looking for opportunities. Martinelli's contract situation makes the decision even more urgent. Arsenal can extend his deal, but if they decide he is no longer part of their long-term plans, selling before the contract situation becomes more complicated is logical. From Martinelli's perspective, however, this is arguably the biggest decision of his career. He has already rejected Turkey. Saudi Arabia now presents a different proposition. Al Hilal can offer financial rewards that few European clubs can match, but Martinelli must decide whether money, playing time and a new challenge outweigh the sporting attraction of remaining in Europe. There is also the Brazil national team factor. At 25, Martinelli is entering an important period of his international career. Regular football at a competitive European club could be valuable if he wants to maintain his position among Brazil's attacking options. That makes his decision far from straightforward. For Arsenal fans, meanwhile, the emotional question is equally important. Martinelli has given the club unforgettable moments. His goals, energy and personality made him one of the symbols of the Arteta rebuild. Seeing him leave would inevitably hurt. But elite football is ruthless. Arteta's job is not to reward players for what they have done in the past. His job is to build the strongest possible Arsenal team for the future. If Zolis continues developing, if another elite attacker arrives, and if Arsenal can receive around £60 million for Martinelli, the club may conclude that this is the right moment to move on. But Arsenal must get one thing right: the replacement. Selling Martinelli without strengthening the attack would leave supporters questioning the decision. Selling him and using the proceeds to bring in an attacker capable of taking Arsenal closer to another Premier League title and a Champions League triumph would make the strategy much easier to understand. That is ultimately what this transfer saga is about.